I have done 30 plus certifications and am here to guide you throughout your certification journey. In this video, we will be covering some important questions of the Microsoft SC-400 exam. You can find the complete PDF of this video and our other certification exams through the link down in the description. To the important questions. Question 1. You create three sensitivity labels named Sensitivity 1, Sensitivity 2, and Sensitivity 3 and perform the following actions. Publish Sensitivity 1. Create an auto-labeling policy for Sensitivity 2. You plan to create a file policy named Policy 1 in Microsoft Cloud App Security. Which sensitivity labels can you apply to Microsoft SharePoint Online in Policy 1? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have B, sensitivity 1, sensitivity 2, and sensitivity 3. Sensitivity 2 and sensitivity 3 are not published, so they cannot be applied in a file policy. Then we have C, sensitivity 2 only. Sensitivity 2 is used in an auto-labeling policy but is not explicitly published, making it unavailable. Then we have D, sensitivity 1 and sensitivity 2 only. Sensitivity 2 is not published, so it cannot be used in the policy. As such, the sensitivity label that we can apply to Microsoft SharePoint Online in Policy 1 is sensitivity 1 only. As such, the correct option is A. In Microsoft Cloud App Security, only published sensitivity labels can be applied in file policies. Since Sensitivity 1 is the only label that has been published, it is the only one available for use in Policy 1. Question 2. You are implementing a data classification solution. The research department at your company requires that documents containing programming code be labeled as confidential. The department provides samples of the code from its document library. The solution must minimize administrative effort. What should you do? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have A, create a custom classifier. Custom classifiers require training with numerous samples, increasing administrative effort. Then we have B, create a sensitive info type that uses exact data match. EDM is useful for structured data but not for unstructured programming code. Then we have D, create a sensitive info type that uses a regular expression. Regular expressions can detect patterns but are difficult to generalize for all programming code formats. As such, we should use the source code classifier. Thus, the correct option is C. Resumes source code, harassment, profanity, threat, are pre-trained classifiers that exist already in Microsoft 365. Source code is correct. Question 3. You have a new Microsoft 365 tenant. You need to ensure that custom trainable classifiers can be created in the tenant. To which role should you be assigned to perform the configuration? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have A, security administrator. Custom classifiers require training with numerous samples, increasing administrative effort. Then we have B, security operator. EDM is useful for structured data but not for unstructured programming code. Then we have D, compliance administrator. Regular expressions can detect patterns but are difficult to generalize for all programming code formats. As such, the role that should be assigned to perform the configuration is Global Administrator. Thus, the correct option is C. The Global Administrator role has the highest level of permissions in a Microsoft 365 tenant and is required to enable and configure custom trainable classifiers. This role has full control over compliance and security settings. Question 3. You are creating a custom trainable classifier to identify organizational product codes referenced in Microsoft 365 content. You identify 300 files to use as seed content. Where should you store the seed content? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have B, a Microsoft OneDrive for Business folder. OneDrive is not supported for trainable classifiers as SharePoint Online is the preferred storage location. Then we have C and Azure File Share. Azure File Share are not integrated with Microsoft 365's trainable classifier functionality. Then we have D, Microsoft Exchange Online Shared Mailbox. Email content is not suitable for seed content storage as classifiers require structured document repositories. As such, we would store the seed content in a Microsoft SharePoint Online folder. Thus, the correct option is A. When creating a custom trainable classifier in Microsoft Purview, seed content must be stored in a SharePoint Online folder. SharePoint is integrated with Microsoft Purview's compliance features, allowing classifiers to access and analyze content effectively. Question 5. Each product group at your company must show a distinct product logo in encrypted emails instead of the standard Microsoft Office 365 logo. What should you do to create the branding templates? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have A. Create a transport rule. Transport rules control email flow and security but do not modify branding for encrypted messages. Then we have B. Create an RMS template. RMS templates define encryption and access policies but do not customize branding. Then we have C. Run the set IRM configuration CMD. This CMDlet configures information rights management settings but does not affect OME branding. As such, to create the branding templates, we should run the new -OME configuration CMDlet. Thus, the correct option is D. D is correct. You can use new OME configuration to create the branding template. Transport rule is needed to apply it, but not to create it. Question 6. You create a custom sensitive info type that uses exact data match. You plan to periodically update and upload the data used for EDM. What is the maximum frequency with which the data can be uploaded? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have A, twice per week. EDM data can be updated more frequently than twice per week. Then we have C, once every 6 hours. This would allow up to 4 updates per day, exceeding the allowed limit of 2 updates per day. Then we have D, once every 48 hours. This is too infrequent as EDM allows update more often. And then we have E, twice per hour. EDM updates cannot occur this frequently as the maximum is twice per day. As such, the maximum frequency with which the data can be uploaded is twice per day. Thus, the correct option is B. As such, the correct option is B. You can upload data with the EDM upload agent to any given data store only twice per day. Question 7. You receive an email that contains a list of words that will be used for a sensitive information type. You need to create a file that can be used as the source of a keyword dictionary. In which format should you save the list? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have a JSON file that has an element for each word. JSON is not a supported format for keyword dictionaries in Microsoft Purview. Then we have B, an ACCDB database file that contains a table named dictionary. Microsoft Purview does not use Access database files for keyword dictionaries. Then we have C, an XML file that contains a keyword tag for each word. XML is not an accepted format for keyword dictionaries in this context. As such, the format in which we should save the list is CSV file that contains words separated by commas. Thus, the correct option is D. Microsoft Purview requires keyword dictionaries to be stored in a CSV file with each word on a new line or separated by commas. This format ensures compatibility when defining a sensitive information type. Question 8. You need to test Microsoft Office 365 message encryption capabilities for your company. The test must verify the following information: required default template names, the encryption and decryption verification status. Which PowerShell CMDlet should you run? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have A, test client access rule. This CMDlet tests client access rules but does not relate to message encryption. Then we have B, test mail flow. This CMDlet checks mail delivery and routing but does not verify encryption settings. Then we have C, test OAuth connectivity. This CMDlet tests OAuth authentication between Exchange Online and other services but does not assess encryption. As such, the CMDlet that we should run is test IRM configuration. Thus, the correct option is D. The test IRM configuration CMDlet verifies information rights management settings, including Office 365 message encryption capabilities. It checks default template names, encryption, and decryption functionality, and overall IRM configuration status. Question 9. You plan to implement sensitivity labels for Microsoft Teams. You need to ensure that you can view and apply sensitivity labels to new Microsoft Teams sites. What should you do first? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have A. Run the set SPO site CMDlet. This CMDlet manages SharePoint Online site properties but does not enable sensitivity labels for Teams. Then we have B. Create a new sensitivity label scope to group and sites. While this step is necessary, it will not work unless the enable MIP label settings is configured first. And then we have C, run the execute Azure AD label sync CMDlet. This CMDlet synchronizes labels but is only needed after enabling MIP labels in Azure AD. As such, we should first configure the enable MIP labels Azure AD setting. Thus, the correct option is D. To apply sensitivity labels to Microsoft Teams, you must first enable the Enable MIP Labels setting in Azure AD. The setting ensures that Microsoft Information Protection labels are available for Microsoft 365 groups, including Teams sites. Question 10. You have a Microsoft 365 tenant. You discover that email does not use Microsoft Office 365 message encryption. You need to ensure that OME can be applied to email. What should you do first? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have A. Enable Microsoft Defender for Office 365. Defender for Office 365 provides security features like anti-phishing and malware protection but does not enable OME. Then we have B. Activate Azure Information Protection. Azure Information Protection helps classify and label data, but OME specifically depends on Azure RMS for encryption. Then we have D. Create an Azure Key Vault. Azure Key Vault is used for managing encryption keys, but it is not required to enable OME in Microsoft 365. As such, we should first activate Azure Rights Management. Thus, the correct option is C. The only prerequisite for using the new OME capabilities is that Azure Rights Management must be activated in your organization's tenant. If it is, Microsoft 365 activates the new OME capabilities automatically and you don't need to do anything. Question 11. You have a Microsoft 365 tenant. You create the following: a sensitivity label, an auto labeling policy. You need to ensure that the sensitivity label is applied to all the data discovered by the auto labeling policy. What should you do first? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have A. Enable inside the risk management. Inside the risk management helps detect risky user activities but is unrelated to auto labeling policies. Then we have B. Create a trainable classifier. Trainable classifiers are used for identifying unstructured data but are not required for applying a sensitivity label via an auto labeling policy. Then we have C. Run the enable transport rule CMDlet. This CMDlet enables mail flow rules but does not impact sensitivity labels or auto labeling policies. As such, we should first run the policy in simulation mode. Thus, the correct option is D. You cannot automatically label documents and emails until your policy has run at least one simulation. Question 12. You have a sensitive information type based on a trainable classifier. You are unsatisfied with the result of the trainable classifier. You need to retrain the classifier. What should you use in Microsoft 365 Compliance Center? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have A. Labels from information protection. Sensitivity labels classify and protect data, but do not directly help in retraining a trainable classifier. Then we have B. Labels from information governance. These labels manage retention policies but are not related to trainable classifiers. Then we have D. Content search. Content search helps locate data across Microsoft 365 but does not assist in retraining classifiers. As such, we should use Content Explorer from data classification in the Microsoft 365 Compliance Center. Thus, the correct option is C. In the Microsoft 365 Compliance Center, the Content Explorer under data classification allows you to review how a trainable classifier is identifying content. You can use this tool to refine and retrain the classifier by validating and adjusting its results. Question 13. You have a Microsoft 365 E5 tenant. You need to add a new keyword dictionary. What should you create? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have A. Trainable classifier. Trainable classifiers use machine learning to identify content based on examples, not predefined keyword dictionaries. Then we have B. A sensitivity label. Sensitivity labels classify and protect data but do not define keyword dictionaries. Then we have D, a retention policy. Retention policies manage data lifecycle but do not involve keyword dictionaries. As such, we should create a sensitive info type. Thus, the correct option is C. In Microsoft 365, keyword dictionaries are created as part of a sensitive information type. A custom SIT allows you to define and detect specific words or patterns, making it suitable for keyword-based content classification. Question 14. You plan to implement Microsoft Office 365 Advanced Message Encryption. You need to ensure that encrypted email sent to external recipients expires after 7 days. What should you create first? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have B, a remote domain in Microsoft Exchange. Remote domains define policies for external email interactions but do not control encryption expiration. Then we have C, a mail flow rule. Mail flow rules can enforce encryption but do not set expiration policies. Then we have D, an X.509 version 3 certificate. 509 certificates are used for authentication and encryption but are not needed for setting expiration. And then we have E, connector in Microsoft Exchange. Connectors manage email flow but do not configure encryption expiration settings. As such, we should first create custom branding template. Thus, the correct option is A. In Microsoft Office 365 Advanced Message Encryption, expiration settings for encrypted emails are configured through a custom branding template. This allows you to set expiration durations and customize the recipient experience. Question 15. You need to be alerted when users share sensitive documents from Microsoft OneDrive to any users outside your company. What should you do? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have A, from the Microsoft Purview Compliance Portal, start a data investigation. Data investigations help analyze security incidents but do not provide real time alerts for external sharing. Then we have C, from the Azure AD Admin Center, configure an identity protection policy. Identity protection focuses on detecting compromised accounts, not monitoring file sharing. Then we have D, from the Exchange Admin Center, create a DLP policy. DLP policies can prevent data leaks, but OneDrive sharing alerts are better handled via Defender for Cloud Apps file policies. As such, we should, from the Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps portals, create a file policy. Thus, the correct option is B. This question is asking for a function that will detect when users share sensitive information outside your company, which means we need to create a DLP policy. The only logical answer here for creating a DLP policy is Cloud Apps file policy, since we have a DLP category available here. Question 16. You have a Microsoft 365 E5 subscription that uses Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps. You need to ensure that you receive an alert when a user uploads a document to a third party cloud storage service. What should you use? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have A, an insider risk policy. Insider risk policies focus on detecting risky user behaviors within the organization, not monitoring external file uploads. Then we have C, sensitivity label. Sensitivity labels classify and protect data but do not generate alerts for file uploads. Then we have D, activity policy. Activity policies track user behaviors, but file policies are specifically designed for monitoring file related actions like uploads. As such, we should use a file policy. Thus, the correct option is B. In Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps, a file policy allows you to monitor and control file activities, including detecting when users upload documents to third party cloud storage services. This ensures compliance and data protection. Question 17. You have a Microsoft 365 E5 subscription. You need to ensure that encrypted email messages sent to an external recipient can be revoked or will expire within 7 days. What should you configure first? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have B, mail flow rules. Mail flow rules can enforce encryption but do not control expiration or revocation settings. Then we have C, conditional access policy. Conditional access policies manage authentication and access controls, not email expiration. Then we have D, sensitivity label. Sensitivity labels classify and protect content but do not set expiration for encrypted emails. As such, we should first configure custom branding template. Thus, the correct option is A. Answer is a custom branding template. With Microsoft Purview Advanced Message Encryption, anytime you apply custom branding, the Office 365 applies the wrapper to email that fits the mail flow rule to which you apply the template. In addition, you can only use expiration if you use custom branding. Question 18. You have a Microsoft 365 tenant that has DLP policies. You need to review DLP policy matches for the tenant. What should you use? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have B, Activity Explorer. It tracks user activities related to data but does not specifically display DLP policy matches. Then we have C, Compliance Manager. It helps manage compliance posture but does not provide insights into DLP policy matches. And then we have D, Records Management Events. It focuses on retention and disposition of records, not DLP policy enforcement. As such, we should use Content Explorer. Thus, the correct option is A. The Content Explorer in the Microsoft 365 Compliance Center allows you to view and manage sensitive information that matches your DLP policies. It provides insights into where sensitive information resides in your organization and helps you manage risks associated with this data. Please note that appropriate permissions are required to access the Content Explorer. Question 19. You have a Microsoft 365 E5 tenant that contains a user named User1. User1 is assigned the compliance administrator role. User1 cannot view the regular expression in the IP address sensitive info type. You need to ensure that User1 can view the regular expression. Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have A, assign User1 the global reader role. This role provides read-only access but does not grant visibility into built-in regex definitions. Then we have B, assign user 1 to the reviewer role group. The reviewer role is related to e-discovery and compliance case reviews, not SIT definitions. Then we have C, instruct user to use the test function on the sensitive info type. The test function only allows checking how an SIT works but does not reveal its regex definitions. As such, we should create a copy of the IP address sensitive info type and instruct user 1 to edit the copy. Thus, the correct option is D. Built-in SITs in Microsoft 365 do not expose their regular expression definitions by default. To view and modify the regex, user 1 must create a custom copy of the IP address SIT, which will then allow editing and visibility into the detection patterns. Question 20. You have a Microsoft 365 E5 subscription. You need to ensure that any message or document containing a credit card number is deleted automatically 12 months after it was created. The solution must minimize administrative effort. Which two components should you create? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have A. Sensitivity label. Sensitivity labels protect and classify data but do not enforce retention or deletion policies. Then we have B. Auto labeling policy for a sensitivity label. Sensitivity labels do not control data retention or deletion. Then we have E. A sensitive information type. While an SIT credit card numbers, it does not apply retention policies on its own. As such, the two components that we should create are a retention label and an auto labeling policy for a retention label. Thus, the correct options are C and D. About the options, C defines the 12-month retention period and the deletion action. Then we have D automatically applies the retention label to content containing credit card numbers, ensuring compliance with minimal administrative effort. Question 21. You have a Microsoft 365 subscription. You create a new trainable classifier. You need to train the classifier. Which source can you use to train the classifier? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have B, an on-premises Microsoft SharePoint server site. Trainable classifiers do not support on-premises SharePoint. They work only with cloud-based Microsoft 365 content. Then we have C, an NFS file share. Network file shares are not supported as a direct source for training classifiers. Then we have D, an Azure file shares. Trainable classifiers cannot directly access or learn from files stored in Azure files. As such, the source that we can use to train the classifier is a Microsoft SharePoint online site. Thus, the correct option is A. Trainable classifiers in Microsoft Purview require content stored in Microsoft 365 workloads such as SharePoint Online, OneDrive, and Exchange Online to learn and classify data effectively. SharePoint Online site is a valid source for training a classifier. Question 22. You have a Microsoft 365 tenant that is opt-in for trainable classifiers. You need to ensure that a user named user1 can create custom trainable classifiers. The solution must use the principle of least privilege. Which role should you assign to user 1? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have a global administrator. This role has full control over the tenant but is excessive for this task, violating the least privilege principle. Then we have B, security operator. This role focuses on security letters and incidents but does not grant permissions to manage trainable classifiers. Then we have C, security administrator. This role manages security settings and threat protection but does not have permissions to create trainable classifiers. As such, the role that we should assign to user 1 is compliance administrator. Thus, the correct option is D. The compliance administrator role in Microsoft 365 provides the necessary permissions to create and manage custom trainable classifiers while following the principle of least privilege. This role allows user 1 to configure compliance solutions without granting broader administrative access. Question 23. You are creating an advanced data loss prevention rule in a DLP policy named Policy 1 that will have all locations selected. Which two conditions can you use in the rule? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have C, document size equal or is greater than. This is not a standard condition for advanced DLP rules. DLP policies focus on content classification and sharing. Then we have D, attachments file extension is. File extension filtering is not a core DLP rule condition. It is more relevant for mail flow rules. Then we have E. Document property is. DLP rules do not rely on specific document metadata properties for enforcement. As such, the two conditions that we can use in the rule are content contains and content is shared from Microsoft 365. Thus, the correct options are A and B. About the options, this condition checks for specific sensitive information such as credit card numbers or personal identifiers within the content. About option B, this condition detects when a document is shared externally from Microsoft 365 services. Question 24. You need to provide a user with the ability to view data loss prevention alerts in the Microsoft 365 Compliance Center. The solution must use the principle of least privilege. Which role should you assign to the user? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have A. Compliance Data Administrator. This role has broader permissions, including managing compliance related data, which is more than required for just viewing DLP alerts. Then we have B. Security Operator. This role can investigate and respond to alerts but has more privileges than needed for simply viewing alerts. Then we have C. Compliance Administrator. This role can manage compliance policies which exceeds the requirement of only viewing DLP alerts. As such, the role that we should assign to the user is Security Reader. Thus, the correct option is D. The security reader role allows users to view DLP alerts in the Microsoft 365 Compliance Center without making changes. This follows the principle of least privilege, granting only the necessary read permissions. Question 25. You need to protect documents that contain credit card numbers from being opened by users outside your company. The solution must ensure that users at your company can open the documents. What should you use? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have a sensitivity label policy. A sensitivity label policy is used to publish labels to users but does not enforce protection rules itself. Then we have B, sensitivity label. A sensitivity label classifies and protects documents but does not automatically block access to external users unless configured with encryption. Then we have C, a retention policy. Retention policy manages data lifecycle but does not control document access. As such, we should use a data loss prevention policy. Thus, the correct option is D. A DLP policy helps prevent credit card numbers and other sensitive information from being shared externally by blocking access to users outside your company. It can enforce restrictions on sharing, sending, or opening documents based on content inspection. Question 26. A compliance administrator recently created several data loss prevention policies. After the policies are created, you receive a higher than expected volume of DLP alerts. You need to identify which rules are generating the alerts. Which DLP report should you use? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have A. Third-party DLP policy matches. This report is used for third-party DLP integrations not built in Microsoft 365 DLP policies. Then we have C. DLP incidents. This report tracks actual data loss events, not a breakdown of rule triggers. Then we have D. False positive and override. This report focuses on false positives and user overrides, not the volume of alerts triggered by specific rules. As such, the DLP report that we should use is DLP policy matches. Thus, the correct option is B. The DLP policy matches report provides insight into which DLP rules and policies are triggering alerts. It helps identify the rules generating the most alerts, allowing administrators to fine tune them. Question 27. You need to be alerted when users share sensitive documents from Microsoft OneDrive to any users outside your company. What should you do? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have A. From the Exchange Admin Center, create a DLP policy. DLP policies in Exchange focus on email protection rather than file sharing alerts from OneDrive. Then we have B from the Azure portal, create an Azure AD identity protection policy. Azure AD identity protection focuses on detecting suspicious login activities rather than monitoring document sharing. Then we have C from the Microsoft 365 Compliance Center, create an inside the risk policy. Inside the risk policies monitor user behavior but do not specifically generate alerts for OneDrive file sharing events. As such, we should, from the Cloud App Security Portal, create a file policy. Thus, the correct option is D. File policies allow you to enforce a wide range of automated processes using the cloud provider's APIs. Policies can be set to provide continuous compliance scans, legal e-discovery tasks, DLP for sensitive content shared publicly, and many more use cases. Question 28. You have a Microsoft 365 subscription that uses Microsoft Exchange Online. You need to receive an alert if a user emails sensitive documents to specific external domains. What should you create? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have a DLP policy that uses privacy category. While a DLP policy can detect sensitive data, the privacy category focuses on personal information protection rather than monitoring specific external domains. Then we have B, a Microsoft Cloud App Security Activity Policy. Activity policies in Microsoft Defender for Cloud apps monitor general user activities but are not designed for email-based alerts. Then we have C, Microsoft Cloud App Security File Policy. File policies track file sharing and access within cloud storage, not email communications. As such, we should create a DLP alert filter. Thus, the correct option is D. A DLP alert filter enables administrators to receive alerts when users send sensitive documents to specific external domains via Exchange Online. This ensures that potential data leaks are promptly flagged for review. Question 29. You are configuring a DLP policy to report when credit card data is found on a Windows 10 device joined to Azure AD. You plan to use information from the policy to restrict the ability to copy the sensitive data to the clipboard. What should you configure in the policy rule? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have A, the incident report. Incident reports log policy violations but do not enforce restrictions. Then we have C, user notifications. Notifications inform users about policy violations but do not directly prevent clipboard copying. Then we have D, user overrides. Overrides allow users to bypass restrictions, which is not the goal in this scenario. As such, we should configure an action in the policy rule. Thus, the correct option is B. In a DLP policy, an action determines what happens when sensitive data, such as credit card information, is detected. To restrict copying data to the clipboard, you must configure an action that applies restrictions, such as blocking the action or providing user notifications. Question 30. You are creating a DLP policy that will apply to all available locations. You configure an advanced DLP rule in the policy. Which type of condition can you use in the rule? Firstly, let's eliminate the incorrect options. We have A, keywords. While keywords can be used in some policies, DLP policies primarily rely on sensitive info types for detecting data patterns. Then we have B, content search query. Content searches are used for e-discovery, not for DLP rule enforcement. Then we have D, sensitive label. Sensitivity labels classify and protect data, but are not directly used as conditions in DLP rules. As such, the type of condition that we can use in the rule is sensitive info label. Thus, the correct option is C. A sensitive info type condition allows the DLP policy to detect and act upon specific types of sensitive data across all available locations. This is the standard method for identifying and protecting sensitive information in DLP rules. These were all the questions for this video. You can find the complete PDF of this video and our practice questions through the link down in the description. We will be publishing more parts to this series in the future, so please make sure to subscribe our channel and press the bell icon. Thank you for watching and stay tuned.